Welcome to the Anchor Your Retirement podcast. I'm your host, Barbara Gullen, hanging out with my buddy and pal, Tony Shore, who's up in Minnesota. How you doing, Tony?
I am great today, Barb. Thanks for asking, and just fantastic. I'm excited today, Barb, because I love the topic, and I know people out there are going to want to hear about this. You're going to talk.
Well, we are in summer
Yes.
or getting there rapidly.
Yes.
Most of the schools are out by now. At least they are down here. I don't know
Sure.
about you guys. Do you guys go into June? I can't remember.
No, typically not.
Yeah, not unless you've got a lot of Minnesota snow that they didn't know how to deal with. But
Right. Not
I don't
this
think
year,
that
though.
happened this year. Yeah.
No, it didn't. No.
Yeah. So anyway, not like Colorado where they had snow days in May because after not having a snowy winter, it came quick, fast, in a hurry for them. So,
Yeah, crazy.
but one of the hallmarks of summertime is vacationing.
Yes. I love talking about trips, vacations.
Everybody likes to get out of Dodge a little bit.
Go relax somewhere, take a trip, relaxing,
Yes.
take a trip, take a vacation. Everybody loves talking about this.
It's a little bit more expensive. Okay, a lot more expensive to do that this year than it has been
lot.
recently.
Airline travel, I think, has tripled because of the high
Some
cost,
of the markets
the
have.
oil prices. Yeah.
And some of them have canceled routes because of
Yes.
jet fuel shortages and complications there.
Yep.
I was visiting with a client who's planning to go over to Europe in the fall. And he's concerned because he has a very unusual flight route where he's going to Newark to a specific town in Germany that isn't like Munich or Berlin or one of the bigger
wow.
cities that you think of. And so he's concerned that that flight is going to get canceled and they're going to have to get things rerouted. But, getting away is good for your soul.
It is.
It
is. And
especially if
people
you
enjoy it.
especially if you can find a way to do it where you can put the electronics and the phones down, get back to nature, touch a little grass, really
Yes.
just kind of reset your nervous system and get grounded. But again, it's hard to do that if you're worried about how much it's costing.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
eating out, hotels, rental cars, and airfare.
And fuel.
And
I mean,
and
gasoline
gas if you're
in and of
driving
itself.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Gas. And even campgrounds and state parks, the costs have gone up exponentially, at least for some campgrounds, and private ones especially. So you want to do this efficiently, and that's why I how to beat the high cost of vacationing. You've got some tips for us, right?
We do. It's something where, I try to get away every few months and get away from the office for 2 or 3 days and just kind of recharge my batteries and decompress. My fiance and I have cars that enable us to travel and travel comfortably. So we actually drive more than we fly. And, for people who have always flown, even though it might seem counterintuitive, hopping in a car and driving might be a way to save on those costs first and foremost.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You have to do the math, right?
You
I mean,
do.
it's
You
all
do.
about figuring it out.
Yeah. And I mean, personally, with the World Cup coming to Kansas City,
Oof.
there's a part of me that would be more than happy to work remotely for a few weeks because they're
Yeah.
anticipating a sizable number of people coming to the Kansas City metro area. And I don't necessarily want to be caught up in the middle of that, but I'm on the opposite end of town from the stadiums. So I'm hoping that we aren't in the middle of it quite as much. But
You mean the influx of over 200,000 extra people coming into the city?
they're anticipating 600,000 over
Oh
the
my
6
gosh.
week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, although there have been news reports that hotel bookings aren't what they thought they were going to be,
Oh.
and apparently FIFA reserved a large number of hotel blocks for the World Cup. And as we're getting closer to that, they're releasing those blocks because when they reserved those blocks, it drove the prices of the hotels up. So,
Sure.
that's, I guess, the next tip I want to talk about which segues into this, is to be flexible about your destination, which sometimes makes it easier if you're driving rather than flying, because you can be scouting the area that you want to go visit. You might stick your finger on a, this is old school, stick your finger on a map of where you live and then draw a circle that's like a 3 or 4 hour drive around that and take a look at what's in that driving circumference that you've never seen that you wanted to see,
Yeah.
and be flexible and look on the internet for those last minute deals.
Hmm.
I understand that, when you don't work for yourself, you have to sometimes put in for that vacation time and be specific about the days, but being flexible about the destination might allow you to actually save a few dollars on some last minute deals.
Yeah, that is true. Sometimes there are last minute deals, and you've got to shop around. I have friends that are really good about finding the deals and then going. Like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm going to take off 3 days at the end of the week because I got a deal on if I go during the week to this, and I'll make that my vacation. And if
Yeah.
you don't need more than a week's notice at your office, you can do that. You can look for last minute deals
Right.
and then take
And,
off.
and your airfare is always going to be more economical if you can fly in the middle of the week. Typically
Yes.
Tuesdays, Wednesdays, sometimes Thursdays, if you really want to fly somewhere.
Yeah.
You'll get a less expensive airfare if you're willing to fly on those days. And of course, flying on the not so popular times. Personally, if I'm going to be flying on an off peak time, I want to get out in the morning.
Yes.
Usually the plane is parked there overnight, so you don't have to worry about whether or not the plane is going to show up.
Right.
And if there are delays, the delays as the day goes on get exponentially longer.
Smart. The first flight
So,
of the day is usually the best. A lot of people miss those flights or don't want to get up early. So
right.
if there's going to be a plane with extra seats, those
Mhm.
are the flights. Yeah,
Yes,
it's
yes.
huge. That's so smart.
And, being willing to fly standby. I guess you're gonna become a pro at this over the next
The
few
rest of my
months.
life, hopefully. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, over the next few months, I should become really good at it, and that is a tip, because my daughter now works for Delta.
Mhm,
My wife and I can fly anywhere Delta flies at no cost,
mhm.
but it's standby, and and so many flights are full these days. How do you get on standby without sitting at an airport all day? Well, the earliest flight in the morning, they say, is the
Is
best.
is the best,
Yeah,
which makes sense. You
yeah,
can now they always say you can catch a nap on a plane. I don't know about you, I'm not the best at that anymore. I used to be, and
yeah.
my oldest daughter, God love her, would fall asleep as we took off and would wake up as we landed. She was the easiest
I
baby to
used to be able
travel
to do
with.
that. I used to be able to do that. The last couple of times I haven't been able to, but if
Mhm.
I if I if I'm able to put my noise canceling earbuds in and put
That
the right
helps.
playlist on,
There you go.
I can fall asleep, and I'll fall asleep at or before takeoff, and I'll wake up just as we're circling or landing. Yeah.
That's impressive. Now,
Yeah.
since this is a financial podcast, we do need to talk about the money aspect of things.
Yes, yes.
And, hopefully you've been saving for this vacation, and so you have money set aside and earmarked for this. And again, you have being flexible can give you a little bit more latitude with those things.
Right.
I understand. I've got another client who, in fact, I think they're leaving this week. They had a bucket list trip where they've been saving for years. 30 of them are going out to the parks out in LA, where
Oh,
mouse ears are not only not frowned upon, but encouraged.
yes.
Yes. So there's 30 of them going. She has literally been saving for like 3 or 4 years so that they could do all the things. And some of those people are flying out, but they are driving out so that they can do some sightseeing and visit some of the national parks along the way. Another tidbit of advice is if you are over the age of 62, I think you can get a national parks pass so that you can visit all of the United States national parks, and you pay a one-time fee. Once you're either 62 or 65, I think it's a one time for the rest of your life deal where
Hmm.
you can get into the national parks. Many states offer park passes to visit the state parks, which can be a really good deal. I know when I renew my car tags, it asks me every year if I want to buy that state park pass for like
Yeah.
$15.
Yeah.
Um, so, there's always an opportunity
Yeah.
to do a little bargain hunting.
Yep.
And there are definitely websites out there that will tell you how to save money on vacations or how to make the most of your airline points. So I'm not going to reinvent the wheel with that. But if you've
Right.
heard of those, go explore those. Um, yeah, another thing that you can think about doing is the staycation, which I know sounds counterintuitive. And it might be worth it, especially if you can get one of those last minute deals. Go stay in a hotel in your city or in your town and plan on some of the activities that you always hear about around town, but that you've never made time to go see. My mom has lived in Omaha for 9 years. She was down here recently when my daughter graduated, and one of her friends came to celebrate the graduation as well.
Mhm.
And my mom mentioned that even though she's lived in Omaha for 9 years, she's never been to the zoo. She's never been to the planetarium. She's never been to a lot of those attractions that Omaha is famous for.
Right. The
And
Omaha Zoo is fantastic.
yes, and her
Yeah.
best friend looked at her and said, "Well, it sounds like I need to take a trip to Omaha to show you
Yeah.
your new town."
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot to do in Omaha,
Well,
just
and
like there's a lot to do in Kansas City.
there's a lot to do in Minneapolis. There's a
Yeah.
lot to do in a lot of the places where we live.
Yep.
It's just like we go, how you go nose blind to the way your house smells because you
Yeah.
live there? We
Yeah.
go sight blind to a lot of the activities that are around us that we could do. Now, for Christmas this past year, we have adult kids. And so I gave each of them a packet of cards that are state bucket list cards so that they can go adventuring in
That's
their own
great.
state. We were talking about this before the
Yeah.
show.
I
It's
love that idea.
actually, they're scratch off adventure cards. They're made by Reach International Outfitters. So you can look them up on the web. But if you look at the back of the card, it gives you an idea of the cost and whether it's an indoor activity or an outdoor activity. But they're designed for day trips or like maybe an overnight because Kansas is pretty wide east to west, and it would be hard to day trip out to western Kansas from Kansas City. But it just gives you an opportunity to kind of let somebody else choose the adventure for you
Yep.
and spontaneously take that day trip so that you're getting out and about and you can choose like a hiking activity or a museum or some other kind of monument or park or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I love that idea. I love that there's a deck of cards with bucket list items for every state. That's
yes,
awesome. That's awesome. And there are so many great things to see in this country. I
there
mean,
are. There are.
I haven't even touched it. I've never been to Yellowstone. So I really want to go there, and I've heard that's awesome.
I went 2 or 3 times as a kid because my dad was stationed in Sheridan, Wyoming for a couple of years with the Veterans Administration.
Mhm.
So that's where I learned to use a camera for the first time. I
Wow.
think it was like a 126 format or something
Oh,
like
wow.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, back when you bought flash bulbs and plugged them in, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
The old Kodak. Yeah.
Yes, yes. But my fiance Eric has never been. So that is on our bucket list of things to do in the next
There's
couple
a
of
lot of
years.
great national and state parks out there that are beautiful. I
There
mean,
there are.
yeah.
And if you are listening to this podcast and you're like, but Barb, I have to get out of town. It I understand. If you're
Yeah.
going to the mountains or you're going someplace where there's a beach or a coastal area, there are usually a lot of activities around those areas that don't cost a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
when Eric and I go to Colorado and we hike Castlewood Canyon, we pay $10 for the parking fee to go into the canyon. Is it Canyon Wood? Castlewood Canyon State Park. That's what it is.
Castlewood Canyon. I've heard of it.
Sorry about the dead air there for a second. I had to think. For those of you who were watching the video, you saw me looking off into the distance trying to make my brain work. But you pay $10 a car for the parking fee. And then there are miles and miles of trails you can explore. There is an old an old mill with the water that used to be water driven. So again, I'm spinning my fingers on the video, and Tony is graciously nodding his head like he knows what the heck I'm talking about. So, but there are countless activities to do. And especially with the internet at our fingertips, you can plug in the name of your city or your destination and then type in on a budget or low cost or no cost activities. And
you'll get tons of options. And
yes.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people do that. If you don't do that, use the internet for this.
Yes.
Find out what's the best thing to do in the name of the city where you're going to be. I always do that.
Right.
What are the best restaurants? And you got a lot of spam, and you'll get some advertising, but then you scroll down and get into the real stuff.
Well,
like a magazine or an actual publication, or Reddit is a good source.
And my pro tip is, if you're signing up for anything, set up an email address that you use just for this vacation stuff, so that it doesn't clutter up your normal email box with all of that spam and with all of the opportunities.
You will get a lot of spam.
Because when you plug in an email address, they do sell to advertisers. They deserve to make money, but do yourself a favor and have it go to a separate email account that is like your vacation compartment, so that you're not having to weed through it all the time. But when you're ready to plan that vacation, you can go there, find out, they might offer you discounts and deals for signing up for their email list. It's, again, if you're strategic about it, it can do you some favors to help you save some of that money on the back end.
Yeah. And there are a lot of things depending on your age. I know recently my wife and I traveled to Atlanta, and we got a great deal on our hotel and rental car through AARP. We got a discount.
I was just going to say, joining AARP or other organizations can give you discounts. AAA does that a lot. Even though I spend a fair amount of time in hotels when I'm traveling, I will usually get a better rate with my AAA card number.
Yes.
Simply.
Yeah. AAA, it's not a free membership. It costs a little more, but it can pay for itself depending on how much you travel, because you will get a better rate with a AAA card at most hotels and sometimes car rentals. That's a great piece of advice.
And if you go into a AAA insurance office, they might actually have some swag and some discounts there that they will give you as a member. But you were talking about getting a better deal on rental cars and that kind of thing. If you have any frequent flyer accounts,
yes,
a lot of the major airline carriers also offer discounts on that kind of thing.
Yes.
And don't underestimate the benefit of going to the discount websites like Expedia and Hotwire.
Yeah.
Because you might be able to get an upgrade on your rental car.
Yeah.
Going through there and get,
if you have a Costco membership, that can actually be advantage. But a lot of hotels, like I've signed up for all the rewards programs at every hotel, with Hertz rental car, with Marriott, with all these hotels.
And look and see who has relationships with each other.
Yes.
Because like Delta and Hertz have a relationship.
Yes, they do.
And if you go to the Lady in Green to get your cup of coffee every morning, you can also get miles added to your Delta account by linking your card, your loyalty card for Starbucks. There's a whole lot of ways that if you're very creative and very intentional about what you're doing, that you can actually get away on a budget.
Yeah, huge.
Mhm.
The signing up for the benefit programs is big. That's a big way, and utilizing Costco membership, AAA,
Mhm.
AARP. Those organizations offer some discounts, but you have to do the due diligence.
Yes, because if
I
you end up paying for a lot of membership costs for
yes.
those.
As long as the membership is free. If it costs money, then you really have to say, okay, how much am I going to use this?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, AAA to me is one worth paying for because
Well, they offer so much.
they
I mean,
do. They
one
do.
tow and it's paid for.
Mhm.
I mean, if you ever need a tow, AAA will tow it, and that's paid for. So
And for now, AAA extends that benefit where you just have to be in the car. You do not have
yeah,
to be the owner of the car
right.
for them to honor that tow.
Yeah, your kids can use it, so that's
Mhm.
really good. Yeah,
Yes.
we've done that and used it
Voice of
quite a bit.
experience here.
Yep, exactly, exactly.
Well, but like I said, this is a financial services show. So my advice to you is always to plan and save ahead so that you're not going into debt because even if you're getting a discount on the airline ticket, if you're paying 25% interest on the credit card, you're not really getting a discount.
No, you're paying exponentially more. Do not put your vacation on a credit card. A lot of people do that, and then
Mhm.
they don't get it paid off within a month. If you've got the money to pay off the credit card, you've got the money to spend in advance. So put that in
Yes.
a separate account. Don't put it on a credit card and let it roll.
No.
Have the money saved in a separate account to pay it, to pay for that vacation ahead of time.
Yeah.
That's always good
Yes.
advice. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, great show. I think
Thanks, Tony.
we've covered it. Can't
We've
wait to
tried.
take my
We've tried.
vacation.
Yes.
Can't wait.
I know. And, I mean, if you're flexible on dates, again, even though summer is peak travel season, you'll always get a better rate if you go in spring or in the fall when the kids are in school. If you can stretch it out a few more weeks, you might be able to add a couple of days to the vacation and save the same and spend the same amount of money.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. That's great advice. Well, and work with a financial planner so you can budget for those vacations.
Yes.
And so you don't want to dip into retirement money to vacation. You don't want to have to,
No.
especially if you're not yet retired, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
that's huge. Well, Barb, before we go, let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you and your team there at BG Wealth Advisory.
You can always go to our website, bgwealthmanagement.com, or if you'd like to do things the old fashioned way, call us at area code 913-553-6222.
All right. Great show. Listeners, pick up the phone, give Barb a call, or go to bgwealthmanagement.com. And that's bgwealthmanagement.com.
Yes.
All right. That does it for today's episode of Anchor Your Retirement with our host, Barb Goen.
We'll see you soon.